Welcome to Classroom Idaho, Learn at Home, a partnership of the Idaho State Board of Education, the Idaho Office for Refugees and English Language Center, Projects of Janus, and Idaho Public Television.
Hi, Miss Allie.
Oh, hi, Miss Chelsea.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you.
Hey, I noticed you're eating something.
Oh, yeah. I'm eating strawberries.
Ooh, those look very delicious.
They're really, really good. They're super sweet today.
Mhm.
What are you eating?
Sometimes I shouldn't eat with my mouth open. I'm eating watermelon.
Ooh, I love watermelon.
Me too.
Yeah, it's the good season for watermelon right now.
Exactly. They're nice and ripe and sweet right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Miss Chelsea, it's so very good to see you. How about we share with our viewers, with Classroom Idaho, who we are?
Okay, sounds good. Sure. So my name is Chelsea Jordan, and I work for the English Language Center, which is a place that teaches English to adults. So we teach refugees, immigrants, all types of people that want to learn English.
Awesome. That sounds really interesting and actually very helpful. My name is Allie Howell, and I work with the Nampa School District. I am an ELL co-teacher. That means I work with language, and I have worked with students from kindergarten through 5th grade.
Awesome. You're doing great work.
Thank you. All right, everybody. We are here to share a story with you. It's called Punishment by Adelheid Marie Wire. And if you want to take notes along with us, make sure you go grab a notebook and a pencil or just a piece of paper. We would love for you to do some of the activities with us.
You may get a paper and pencil now to take notes.
Great. Okay, so thank you, Miss Allie. So before we start the story, I'd like to ask some questions about the context of the story so that we can start thinking about maybe what is this story about before we read it. So the first question I have for you is, have you ever done something you knew you shouldn't have? Okay, so let's take some time and think about that for a little bit. What do you think, Miss Allie? Is there a time that you can think of that you did something you shouldn't have?
Yes, definitely. I think all of us make those kinds of mistakes.
I think so.
And we know we shouldn't, but it's really tempting, so we want to do it. So my mom used to keep a jar of quarters next to the refrigerator, and it was kind of like, hey, if you get extra change, you just put it in there. And so sometimes I grabbed a few quarters because maybe I wanted to go buy a piece of candy at the store down the street or something like that. It's not like it was a lot of money, and it wasn't like it was in my mom's pocket or anything. It was out there. So but I probably shouldn't have done that, and I should have asked before I took those quarters.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. What about you, Miss Chelsea?
Yeah, so I think this is more of a general example, and I did it when I was a little kid, and I think I sometimes still do it now, but sometimes I just know that I should go to bed right now, and it's like my bedtime, but don't want to go to bed yet. I don't want the day to be over. So I'll just stay up a little bit later than I really should, even though I know I should probably go to bed. And it's something that happens sometimes, not too often, but even though I know I should go to bed, I still stay up.
Right. Yeah. It's really important for us to get our sleep.
Yeah. So I want to ask another question. And that question is, what kind of consequences did you have from this?
Miss Chelsea, I'm not sure what a consequence is. That's a really big word.
Yeah, consequence. That's a very big word. So let's go to the next picture and look at this word consequence. So first let's practice saying it. So the word is consequence. Consequence.
Consequence.
Consequence.
Consequence.
Good. And the definition of this word is the result of an action. So it's like a synonym or a similar word is result. So you do something and there is a result to that action, right? So it could be outcome or effect. So I gave some examples, so maybe you could look at it better. But Miss Hallie, is that kind of make sense right now for consequence?
I think so. I've heard the word effect.
Okay.
So it makes somewhat of a sense. Let's look at the examples.
Yeah. So the first example is I was speeding in my car, so I got pulled over by the police.
That has
So
happened.
somebody was going, has that happened to you? It's happened to me too.
It was something I shouldn't have done. I should
Yeah.
not have been speeding.
Exactly.
So I know that when I speed, I make the road not safe for others. So then the police are in charge of helping the road be safe. So then the consequence was for the police to pull me over so that I wasn't speeding anymore.
Exactly. So that's called a consequence. So you were doing something you shouldn't have, and there was a result or an effect of what you did. And the other example is I didn't drink enough water, so now my head hurts, or I have a headache. Yeah. Has that happened to you before?
Yes, actually, I'm really bad about drinking water. I like to
Me
drink
too.
iced tea or other things like that, but not just plain water, even though I know my body needs that water. And so, again, it's something that I do, and then later on, it's almost like I pay for it by not doing the right thing.
Exactly. And that's exactly what a consequence is. So does that make more sense now?
Yep, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you, Ms. Chelsea.
You're welcome. So let's go back and look at the second question, which is thinking back to something you shouldn't have done, but you still did it maybe. And what kind of consequence did you have from this?
I have to be honest.
Okay.
My mom noticed that the quarters were gone, and she just got mad at my brother and I, but I wasn't very truthful, and I didn't come forward, and I should have. But so I guess just my mom being mad overall and not being super nice to me or my brother was the consequence.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thinking, you're still thinking about this today. So maybe you kind of have something that you're thinking about a lot and it's still kind of a consequence.
Yeah, that's true. It has stayed with me because now I think back and I still feel bad about what I did.
Yeah.
What about
so I
you?
was thinking about mine, and I know the next day I wake up and I feel tired, and maybe I'm grumpy and I don't treat the people around me very well, and it's almost like it's a cycle of bad consequences, right? So I wake up and I'm tired, and then I'm grumpy to my coworkers and my friends, and then I feel bad about that. So my whole day is kind of ruined because I just didn't go to bed early.
Yeah, that's not a good thing either.
I know. Okay, so the third question is, have you ever thought of it as a punishment, of this consequence as a punishment?
I don't think of it as a punishment, at least not how it happened to me, because my mom didn't really do anything to me.
Yeah.
I think it was more of a natural consequence.
Yeah.
What about yours?
And I don't know if I ever thought of it as a punishment, but I'm sure there's lots of examples of things I've done and I've had consequences for that have seemed like a punishment. I'm sure there's many of those, but this one, it sometimes feels like a punishment because I just feel bad about the fact that I didn't go to bed early, and I know I should have. And so it does sometimes feel a little bit like a punishment. I'm punishing myself.
Yeah, that is true. And that's a good point. Sometimes we punish ourselves. I often think of punishment as being given to me, but I can do it to myself as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so
I noticed there that you have given versus natural consequences. What do you mean by that?
yeah, so let's look at that because that is a very good question. And I'm going to use the same examples that we had last time. So the first example is I was speeding in my car, so I got pulled over by the police. And the second example is I didn't drink enough water, so now my head hurts. So which one do you think of these two is a natural consequence?
Well, when you have versus, it means that's the opposite, right?
Mhm.
Or like it's against the other. And if it's given, I know
Yeah,
that when something is given, someone else is giving it to you. So the first
yes, there's a
case
give.
was not that one. So if it's going to be natural, I would say it's the one about not drinking enough water, because it's not that anyone else did that to you, but you did it to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's exactly right. The second one, where you don't drink enough water and now your head hurts, is a natural consequence. Nobody did that to you, right? It wasn't given to you. It's just happened kind of naturally. And so that means that the first example about getting pulled over by the police is a given consequence, where somebody is giving you that consequence. So what do you think about my example about not going to bed early? Do you think it's a natural or a given consequence?
I definitely think that that's natural, because, well, and maybe I shouldn't say that you do it to yourself, but it's just what happens if you don't go to bed on time.
It's a natural thing that happens. Yeah, nobody gave that
Exactly.
consequence to me. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's look a little bit. We've been using this word punishment, and I wanted to kind of quickly go over what this word means because it's the title of our story today. So we can think of a punishment, and that punishment is a noun, and the verb form of punishment is punish. So maybe let's practice saying punishment first. It's kind of a long word. Okay, so I will say it 3 times, and you can repeat after me. Punishment,
Punishment.
punishment,
Punishment.
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 Good. And so the verb is just punish. Great. And so we can think of it as a negative penalty for an action. So something that's negatively given to you, or maybe not exactly given to you for something you've done. And I thought, when I heard the word penalty, I thought of soccer. And so, if you're playing soccer and you do something wrong, they give you a card, and then you have to do something differently because of the penalty. Does that make sense, Miss Sally?
Yes, it does. It does make sense. So I know that if in soccer, the penalty is when someone throws the flag out and then something happens, like maybe a player is pulled from the field, or they have to go to the timeout area, or maybe they have to let the other team hit a field goal or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so because the other team did something wrong, they are punished, and the other team gets to do something kind of nice because of it. So it's a punishment there. So I gave an example here. So I yelled at my mom, so she punished me. She told me to go to my room. I remember that happened to me when I was a kid. Did that ever happen to you?
Oh, yes.
As a punishment?
Yeah. Sometimes
Exactly.
our feelings get the better of us, so then we yell. But when you said negative, a negative that happens to you from an action you did. So the action here was that you yelled. And so the penalty or negative penalty was that you had to go to your room. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah, and it's kind of a consequence, right, as well. They're similar. All right. So we will read the story shortly.
Okay, so we are ready to read through our story called Punishment. This is the link that you can write down in order to go and check it out. We got this story from Storybooks ESL, which is a website where you can find many stories for learning English as a second language. Okay, so take a few seconds to write this down if you are interested in checking out the stories through their website. All right, let's get started. Punishment by Adelheid Marie Wire.
Remember, you can feel free to read along with us.
One day, Mama got a lot of fruit. I noticed that there's a lot of fruit on her head in a basket.
Yeah.
When can we have some fruit? We ask.
They look like they want the fruit.
Yeah, they do. My brother, Rahim, is greedy. He tastes all the fruit. He eats a lot of it. He definitely is greedy. Look what Rahim did, shouts my little brother. Rahim is naughty and selfish, I say. Look at their faces. I don't think they're very
They look a little upset. Yeah, they're not very happy.
Mother is angry with Rahim. I noticed she's got her lips like this. Like sometimes we're angry, we go like that.
Yeah.
And then look at how he left the fruit. Would you be angry?
I know. He didn't eat all of it even. He just took bites.
We are also angry with Rahim, but Rahim is not sorry. Look, he's got a smile, and then brother and sister don't look very happy.
Yeah, they're like this, and he's like, I don't care.
Aren't you going to punish Rahim? Asks the little brother. There's that word again, punish.
Punish.
Rahim, soon you will be sorry, warns Mama. And I know when you warn someone, it means that they're trying to tell you that something is going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Rahim starts to feel sick. It looks like he might be getting sweaty or maybe sleepy.
Doesn't look good. Looks like he got a little green in his face.
My tummy is so sore, whispers Rahim. Mama knew this would happen. The fruit is punishing Rahim. Uh-oh. I know that look. Sometimes that's not a very good look.
No, it's not good.
Later, Rahim says sorry to us. I will never be so greedy again, he promises, and we all believe him.
Oh,
he
that's
does look
nice.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
You look at his face, his eyes are down, and he was smiling before, but he's not smiling anymore.
Yeah, and his family looks like they're sorry maybe that he got sick, and they believe him. They're forgiving him.
Yeah, forgiveness is important, especially when someone has been or has done something to you. It's not good to stay angry.
No, I agree with you.
All right, so that was our story. Now, there were a few words in our story that I would like to review with you. And then we will read the story again, and then you can pay a little bit more attention to the vocabulary words, and hopefully you will be able to understand it a little bit better.
You may also want to write down the vocabulary and the sentences for your practice.
Okay, Our first word is naughty. I'll say the word and then will you repeat it after me, Miss Chelsea?
I will.
And our friends watching us, you can repeat it with us as well. Naughty,
Naughty.
naughty,
Naughty.
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 Let's clap it. Naughty.
Naughty.
Okay, that has 2 syllables. And naughty is an adjective, and that's kind of a type of word that describes something. And in this case, when you're describing something as naughty, it's usually a person. Okay, so naughty is someone who is behaving badly. Or another word for being naughty is being mischievous. Okay, and if you take a look at the picture there, there's a boy and it looks like he's just throwing sand or dirt up in the air. He's not behaving very good, and I wonder if he's maybe throwing that dirt at someone or a buddy or a brother or sister. So he's being kind of naughty.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's use naughty in an example. I will give you an example and then you can try on your own. I was naughty by putting gum in my sister's hair. That's not very nice. When you put gum
No, it's
in
not
your
very
hair,
nice.
you can't get it out. It's awful. You almost have to cut it off. So that's very bad.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's very naughty.
yeah. Now it's your turn. You can think of a time when you were naughty, and you can start your sentence or example with, I was naughty when, think about it. Miss Chelsea, do you have an example?
Yeah. So I was naughty when I sprayed my brother with the hose.
Ooh, I bet
I
he
used to do that when I was a kid. I would spray him with the water hose and he didn't like that very much.
And I
Then my
know
mom
we
would
laugh
get
about it, but
angry
I
with
know if
me.
I was him, I would be very angry.
I know. It was not good. I should not have done that.
Good. Okay, let's go to our next word. Our next word is selfish. And the same thing, I'll say the word and you repeat it and then we'll clap it. So
Okay.
selfish,
Selfish.
selfish,
Selfish.
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 Clap it. Selfish.
Selfish.
Good. That has 2 syllables also. This word also is an adjective. Again, that is a word that describes something or someone. Okay, so selfish is someone who takes care only of their own needs and doesn't care about others. A synonym for being selfish is being egotistic. So if I take a look at this picture, I see this little squirrel. He's got, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 nuts. He can barely even carry it. And it looks like he doesn't need to eat all of those right away. So it tells me that he's being maybe a little bit selfish because he's taking care of his needs and doesn't care about others.
He's taking more than he needs. He doesn't need everything, and he doesn't care about the other squirrels that might be hungry.
Exactly. He's not sharing. Okay, so now let's use the word in an example. The first example is, I was selfish by not sharing my toys with my brother. Okay, your turn. You can start your sentence with, I was selfish when. Miss Chelsea, do you have an example?
Yeah, it's kind of the same as this one, but that's okay, I guess. I was thinking I was selfish when I would I took the food from the kitchen and I tried to eat it all before my family could eat it.
That is something I've done also, but definitely.
I kind of was like Raheem in the story.
Yes, exactly. Raheem ate pieces and a little bit of all the fruits, not caring about his his brother or sister or mom to see if they wanted some. He just ate, not caring about.
I know.
Mhm.
He didn't share. I think it's, like you said, not sharing. That's a really good thing to think about with selfish, is when you don't share, it's being selfish.
Exactly. Okay, our next word is greedy, and it's actually very similar to selfish. So let's see if you can figure it out. So let's say the word with after me, and then we'll clap it. Greedy,
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 greedy.
greedy.
Good. That one also has 2 syllables. And again, it's also an adjective because it describes something or someone. So in this case, it's a someone. So it's someone who has a desire or a want to have more of something than they need. So definitely very much like selfish. So if you take a look at this little mouse, he's trying to grab a grape and like it's almost bigger than his body. And so
Yeah.
he doesn't need that whole grape. So when you are greedy, it means you take more than you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, here's an example. I was greedy by eating a second plate, even though I was full. Okay, your turn. I was greedy when... All right, Miss Chelsea, do you have one?
Yeah, I was greedy. I love ice cream. And so sometimes I am greedy when I eat the little ice cream thing. I eat the whole thing sometimes, the little pint, and I feel a little greedy after that. I didn't need it.
Well, especially you don't need to eat the whole thing, and I'm sure you probably were full maybe halfway through, but it tasted so good you just kept going.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. And I just wanted to mention that a lot of times people talk about greedy with having to do with money. So
yeah, I was thinking of money examples too, but I don't know if I've never stole any money or anything, but a good example of greedy is taking more money than you need.
Exactly. Yeah, more than needed. All right. And our last word is promise. So repeat after me. Promise.
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 Clap it. Promise.
Promise.
Good. That also has 2 syllables. And this word is a noun. That means it's a person, place, or thing, or idea. So in this case, it's an idea. It's not something you can touch, so it's not a thing. It's not a person, and it's not a place. So it's an idea. So that idea is something you say that you will do no matter what. So if you take a look at a picture, you sometimes shake the hand of someone when you promise to do something, or you tell someone that you promise them that you will do the thing that you're saying. So a synonym for promise is to vow or to swear that you will do something, and not swear in the idea that you're saying a bad word, but that you're making a promise. Okay, here's an example using the word promise. I made a promise to my friend that I would come by her house after school. So sometimes little kids will do a pinky swear when they're doing a promise.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been something I would have done with my friend if I was going over to her house after school. So what I said was that I would go over there and that I promised her. So it means no matter what, I would be at her house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now your turn to think about a promise you have made. And you can start your example with, a promise I made was... Miss Chelsea, do you have an example for us?
Yeah, a promise I made when I was a kid. Sometimes I promise this to myself, but a promise I made was to clean my room. Now, when I was a kid, I promised my mom to clean my room. But now I tell myself, okay, I promise to clean my room tomorrow.
And that's important too. And I mean, especially if you're making a promise to yourself, it's really important to keep that promise and make sure that you do it.
Yeah. And I like this word because all the other words were kind of, they were kind of bad words like selfish and greedy. But this word it's a happy word. It's a good word. You know, this is something that makes me feel joy and happiness.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you've been that way and now you're changing what you're doing or feeling. Good.
Just like Raheem. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, we're going to read the story one more time and be thinking about those 4 words. I believe it was selfish, greedy, promise, and naughty. All right.
Okay. All right, everybody. So let's read the story one more time, and we'll try to remember those words that we looked at, like punishment, greedy, selfish, and promise. Was there another word that I'm missing?
Naughty, I believe.
Naughty, yes. Okay, great. So punishment. One day, Mama got a lot of fruit. When can we have some fruit? We ask. My brother Raheem is greedy. He tastes all the fruit. He eats a lot of it.
Hey, there's that word greedy. I remember that we said it's when you take more than you need. So definitely tasting all of the fruit is more than Raheem needs.
Yeah, and he's like getting bites of every piece. So definitely greedy. Good. Okay. Look what Raheem did, brother. Raheem is naughty and selfish, I say. So we see naughty and selfish here. He's not doing what he's supposed to. He's behaving badly, taking more than he needs. Okay, so mother is angry with Raheem. We are also angry with Raheem, but Raheem is not sorry. Aren't you going to punish Raheem? Asks little brother. Raheem, soon you will be sorry, warns Mama. Raheem starts to feel sick. My tummy is sore, whispers Raheem. Mama knew this would happen. The fruit is punishing Raheem. So you have that word punish, right? There's a kind of a negative consequence to what he did. Later, Raheem says sorry to us. I will never be so greedy again, he promises, and we all believe him.
Hey, so Miss Chelsea,
Yeah.
I remember us talking about the consequences being like a punishment and how some consequences can be natural or given. And I noticed that the little brother went and asked Mom, and he asked her, aren't you going to punish Raheem? So I think he was wanting Mama to give the punishment or give a consequence to Raheem for what he did for his being naughty and eating a lot of the fruit. But I'm not sure if the punishment that this story is talking about is a given punishment or consequence.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the little brother wanted him to have a given punishment or a given consequence. And the mom, she knew that there would be a natural consequence, it seems like. So she thought, I don't need to punish Raheem twice because he will feel bad later. He will have a sore tummy and he will be sick. I don't need to punish him any more than that. So, and then it looks like the family all realized that at the end.
So then he received the natural consequence or punishment by having the sore tummy and feeling sick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I noticed lots of fruit in this story, and I thought it would be really fun to talk about fruit. And just like we were doing earlier, I know I was eating some watermelon, and Miss Chelsea, what were you eating again?
Strawberries, one of my favorite fruits.
Yeah. So I thought it would be nice for us to talk about fruit, where we get it, and that kind of thing. So
That sounds great.
yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Okay, everybody. So like Miss Allie said, we want to spend a little bit of time talking about fruit because Raheem really seemed to like fruit a lot in the story, and it kind of inspired us to think a lot about fruit and how much we love fruit. And it seems like summer is the time that I eat the most fruit because there's a lot of good in-season fruit. Okay, so let's look at fruit all over the world because there's many different types of fruit all over the world, and I probably haven't even eaten some of these fruits that are all over the world. But I think we'll start with the United States. So let's think about what kind of fruit is common in the United States. And I was thinking of Idaho specifically because I'm from Idaho. And so I thought maybe we could think about if there's any type of fruit that's kind of special to Idaho that you find more common here than many other parts of the country. And I'd like to pose a question to you about what kind of fruit is common in your native country. So I think let's maybe Miss Allie and I talk about the first question about what kind of fruit is common in the United States. All right.
So, Miss Chelsea, I noticed that in a lot of places around the United States, there's lots of apples.
Uh-huh.
You have a picture there. Yes. And you have strawberries. I see those even wild in the mountains. I see wild strawberries all over the place. And you also have there some watermelon.
Yeah, watermelon. I think of watermelon often for the summer. For me, it's like a picnic fruit. That reminds me of a lot of the fruit in the States. And also oranges. I think of like California and Florida when I think of oranges. That reminds me of oranges. Yeah. Is there any other fruit you could think of that it's common in the United States?
I keep thinking of bananas, but I don't think that they are from the US. I think they come from other places.
Some fruit seems to be common all over the world. Like bananas, you know, I lived in different countries and I always see bananas. So maybe they're one of those fruits that is common in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And then we had another question, which was if there's any fruit that's special to Idaho. And I have a picture of it here. Do you know what fruit it is?
Yes, I actually love this fruit. It's and I have gone to the mountains to pick some of these. They're called huckleberries.
Huckleberries, yes. I love huckleberries, and that's so cool that you went and foraged for them because I've actually never done that. So I would love to do that sometime. But yeah, huckleberries are kind of common in the United States or in Idaho and the kind of the northwestern part of the country. And we have festivals in Idaho that celebrate the fruit, and we put them in ice cream and chocolate and many different things, and they're really good. Yeah, I do love huckleberries.
And if I could describe the taste, I would say that they're sour and sweet.
Yeah.
How else
would
would you describe it?
Yeah, they're kind of like a berry. I don't know if they're specifically a fruit, but I think they are. Like we said, strawberries are fruit, right? So they're more of a berry, and they kind of like pop when you eat them. But you often eat them in like I said, like an ice cream because the sweetness of ice cream kind of helps the tartness, the sourness, the tartness of the huckleberry. So usually they're put together with something sweet like chocolate or ice cream.
Exactly. Nice.
Yeah, so let's go to our third question, which is what kind of fruit is common in your native country? And so I wanted to talk to our friends that are watching, and you can think about this and maybe share with your friends or your parents or whomever in your house. But what about you, Miss Allie? Do you have a place that you could talk about?
Yeah, so my native country is Mexico. I was born in Mexico, and even though I live here now, I go back often. And some of the things that I do when I go back, and I make sure that I do it because it's not very common here, is I always go and try to find fresh coconut. And if you have never had fresh coconut, it's not hard. Like like we see it now, and it's not in that dark brown ball, but it's green and it's bigger. And they use this little, uh, like a curved blade, and they scoop it out, and it's actually kind of almost rubbery, but it has a
Huh.
fresh, sweet taste. And it's not hard. Coconut is my favorite thing to eat, and I should say fresh coconut is my favorite thing to eat from my native country.
Yeah, I wish I could have some you really made me crave like fresh coconut. I've never had it before, but I really want to try it now.
Yeah, it's
You made
actually
it sound very
delicious.
delicious.
Yeah. And I should have said also the water, when they first open it, they'll cut off the top
Uh-huh.
and make a little hole in the top, and they'll give you a straw, and you can drink the water out before they cut it open. So the
Oh
water is
man.
delicious.
And it's probably much more fresh than the coconut water they sell at the stores now.
Oh yeah, I don't think it even tastes the same.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure. Well, thank you for sharing. That was really great.
sure.
All right, so now we would like to talk about, we talked about the different fruit that is common in the United States. And so for example, we could talk about apples, and we wanted to talk about the many different ways that you can eat and use these fruits, and more specifically, how many people do it in the United States. So let's start with apples. Okay, so I looked at how we can eat apples, and there's lots of different ways, and these are just a couple of them. But one of them is sometimes people just take the apple and take a big bite out of it. And so we can see that picture there. It says bite an apple. So sometimes you just eat the apple whole. You don't do anything else to it. Maybe you should wash it first, but that's about it. And then something that's really common with apples is apple pie. And this is, I don't know, this is the same for you, Allie, but in my house, we eat apple pie for Thanksgiving and sometimes for Christmas as well. So it's kind of a special pie for holidays. It's pretty sweet, but it can be tart depending on how much sugar you put into it.
No, I love apple pie too. Mhm.
Yeah, apple pie is good. And so another kind of specific way to eat apples is for a holiday as well, which is for the holiday Halloween. And I don't know if you've heard of that holiday, but if you haven't, it's a holiday on October 31st. And sometimes people dress in costumes and they knock on doors and get little kids knock on doors and get candy from people. And many times people will have parties and they can have a caramel apple. And so it's covered in caramel sauce and it's pretty delicious. They're a little sticky, but they're good every once in a while.
And Miss Chelsea, I've also seen caramel apples with nuts on them, or even sometimes
Oh,
chocolate drizzle or things like that. And actually,
yeah.
of all the ways to eat an apple, that is my favorite way of eating an apple.
Yeah, and I agree with that. For some reason, caramel and apples go really, really well together. I know that sometimes I'll slice an apple, which is just the picture that's over here, and I will dip it in caramel sauce. That's really good too.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about strawberries next. So strawberries, if you remember, I was eating strawberries at the beginning of this show, and I really love strawberries, and especially in the summer. And so you can just eat them whole, like I was um, this year. But there's a couple of other ways, and one of them is fruit salad. So sometimes people will put a lot of different fruit, including strawberries, into all together in a bowl, and it's called fruit salad. So all it has really in it is fruit, and it's a common dish for picnics or potlucks with your friends. Also, sometimes people put strawberries on top of things. So I put here strawberry toppings, which is like if you eat pancakes or crepes or usually breakfast foods, you can put strawberries on top. Do you ever do that, Miss Allie?
I like to put strawberries in my cereal.
Oh, that's a really good idea. So I think that could be considered a topping, right? You're kind of putting it on top of your cereal. That's a great idea. And so the other type is there's a dessert and it's called strawberry shortcake. And Usually it's like a very light, fresh kind of cake, and you put strawberries and whipped cream on top of it. And in this example, there's some blueberries as well, but usually it's just strawberries. I like strawberry shortcake because it's kind of a light, fresh cake, not too heavy. It's good for summer.
I agree.
Yeah, and another one is a smoothie or even a milkshake maybe, and you can just you blend the strawberries in with milk or ice cream or other fruits, and you could have a smoothie. So those are also, I think, popular with a lot of people.
I like making smoothies all the time.
Yeah, they're good, especially for breakfast. Okay, so.
All right, watermelon, and that is what I was eating earlier. And here I have a little chunk of it. And most of the time,
Watermelon
is pretty good on its own. There's no real special dish that we use watermelons in. We basically just cut it open and slice it up or dice it up. Sometimes you eat it with like a wedge and just bite into it, or you make it into small squares, or cube. I have seen once in a while people put like coconut flakes, or they'll add watermelon to a salad. But most of the time, watermelon is pretty good by itself.
That's true. I saw something recently with somebody grilled watermelon.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Maybe it's good.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to our last fruit. And it's oranges. And this is kind of the same idea. Most of the time we don't put oranges or have a special dessert most of the time, but we do make orange juice. So we squeeze the juice out of the orange because it's actually a citrus fruit, kind of like limes or lemons. And so they're very juicy inside. So you can peel it and just eat the slices inside, or you can cut it and bite down. So that's my favorite way of eating an orange is just peeling it and eating the slices.
Yeah, and I love the little mini ones. Like I think they're called cuties or mandarin oranges, the small oranges that are really easy to peel and they're a little bit more sweet. Those are really good too.
Exactly. Those are delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think one of my favorite things is fresh squeezed orange juice. When you squeeze it yourself, it's much better than the store-bought stuff.
I agree. Yes, it has a much fresher taste. Well,
awesome.
Chelsea, I wonder about if we go to the store, how do we know how to choose the different types of fruit?
Oh, that's a really good idea, because sometimes I've bought in fruit sometimes. I'm in a rush and I buy fruit and it doesn't taste as good sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I wonder why. There might be a way to do that.
Yeah. So let's go on to our next slide. Okay, so let's talk about how we can buy fruit. Okay, so if we take a look at the watermelon, on the left side, you see a yellow section, and that means it's not very ripe. It's not ready to be cut. If you take a look at the watermelon on the right, it has a lot more green, so that means it's ready to be cut. So I would choose the watermelon directly to the right.
And this is not just for watermelon. You want to make sure that you have an even color all around the fruit and that the color is nice and bright. And also that there are no super soft spots on your fruit.
Also, when you buy fruit, if it's smaller, you can go and grab a bag so you can put your fruit inside the bag.
I've seen those a lot, and I use them. When I get a couple of apples or 3 apples, I'll put them in the bag.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about is sometimes they price fruit differently. Sometimes they say each or by the pound. And so if you see the price, for example, this one on the left says mandarins, $3.98 each. That means that the whole bag is worth $3.98. Okay, so the other way that fruit is priced is by the pound. So if you look at the picture on the right, this seedless watermelon costs 38 cents a pound. So if you weigh the watermelon, every pound costs you 38 cents. So be very careful when you're choosing your fruit so you know how much it's going to cost you.
Yeah, and it looks like LB, right? LB stands for pound.
That's right. Okay, in order for you to know how much you're going to pay, you can go around the store and find one of those, what do we call those, Miss Chelsea?
A scale.
Yes, a scale. So you can grab your fruit. So I was weighing some oranges that I bought that I had in my bag. So I found the scale, and it looks like, it almost looks like a watch face, and it has a basket underneath. And in the basket is where you put in your fruit. So I put in my 2 oranges to see how much they would cost. And if you see the picture all the way to the right, it was just over 1, or maybe about 1.5. So I had to pay £1.5 pounds worth of oranges. And I think the oranges were, I think, like 98 cents a pound. So it would cost me about $1.50 for 2 oranges.
Great. Okay, everyone. So now let's think about, where can you buy fruit in the United States? And, you know, I think in some countries it can differ. Like, there's specific ways in certain countries that you usually buy fruit. And in the United States, there's many different ways. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, okay?
Sure.
And Miss Allie and I actually went out this weekend and went and did a bunch of different things so we could take pictures.
It was really fun.
So yeah, it really was. And so the first one is one that I'm really excited about, because I went to a farmer's market, and I went to the one in Meridian, because I live in Meridian. And it was small, but very, very nice. And farmer's market, people from the community or your city go bring the stuff that they've grown and that they've made, and they sell it. So you're buying it from somebody that is local to the place that you live, rather than a big company. So many people love farmers markets because they can support the local community. And so I know that I felt good shopping at for the local community.
And I think that's a really good point for you to say, Miss Chelsea, because we want the money that we spend to stay in our community. And when we go to big stores, it goes to the main store, and it goes all over the nation. But if we keep the money here, then it helps our economy or our people that live here.
Yeah, and so I know, and so I've said that I work for the English Language Center, and we have a company or a program that's close to us. They're called Global Gardens, and they're refugees that grow their own food and sell it at farmers markets. So I love to support them as well. But
Yes.
as you can, sorry, Miss Sally?
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like I bought fruits or vegetables from them at the Boise Farmers Market. Is that where they are?
Yeah, they go to the Boise Farmers Market, and there's a bunch of different locations. So you can just search Global Gardens if you're ever interested in looking up their food, because it's really, really delicious, fresh vegetables and fruit.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I bought some honey and flowers and dog treats for my dog. But I wanted to buy lots more things because there was really cool things there. So
nice.
Yeah, that's farmers markets. And so the next one is orchards. And this is specifically for fruit, which is where they have, like, instead of buying it at the farmer's market, sometimes you can go to an orchard and you can actually pick the fruit yourself. And so I think 2 summers ago, my mom and I went to an orchard and we picked blackberries, and we had a lot of fun. So it was a good time.
So you mean there's like rows and rows of trees or
Yeah.
bushes, and you go and take your own?
Exactly. There's big, like this picture with the tree, you can kind of see that there's like a whole row of trees, and they all have fruit on them, and they give you a basket, and you can pick the fruit, and then you just pay for whatever you picked.
That's awesome. I like that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and it's also supporting local, like we said.
Yeah, especially in our valley, I know that there's a lot of apple and peach orchards. So
Yeah, there are. And then I think that the fruit, like the blackberries and stuff, is kind of underneath that whole orchard.
nice.
Yeah.
All right. So
So where'd you
I
go?
like to go to fruit stands. And fruit
Oh.
stands you often see on the side of a road, and I like to stop there on my way home because again, it's usually someone local that brings in produce or basically fruit and vegetables from local orchards or other farmers. Sometimes they do bring in fruits and vegetables from other states, but most of the time they will try to keep produce that is local. So I went to the fruit stand down over by State Street and 36th Street. I don't know if you've seen that one, Miss Chelsea. Have you seen that one?
I have seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to stop there, and usually you'll see the little sign. I saw the little sign that said sweet corn and open. And so I knew that they were open, and I stopped by. And I took pictures of some of the types of fruits that they have. So right now they have watermelon and apples and oranges. And actually, they were really low on some of the fruit. I was surprised. So that just tells me that a lot of people shop there. So
Yeah, which is great.
yeah. The other thing that you can buy at fruit stands is actually plants. You can actually buy. Okay, yeah. So you can also buy plants or herbs such as maybe rosemary, or you can buy plants like a tomato plant if you wanted to plant it in your garden. So I really like going
wonderful.
to fruit stands.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'll click that out. Okay, and the last place that I went to was the grocery stores. Here is a picture of Winco. That's a pretty common one in our valley. There's also Albertsons or Fred Meyer, and grocery stores are places where you can go get food, not just fruit, but all kinds of food. But I did take pictures in the fruit area, or what they call the fresh produce, and that's basically fruit and vegetables. So here you see the different boxes of different fruits and the pricing up at the top.
Wonderful.
All right, everyone with Classroom Idaho, I hope you enjoyed our story Punishment and learned a little bit about our consequences that are given or natural, and also a little bit about fruit.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this story. It reminded me a lot of some of the given and natural consequences I've had in my life. And I really enjoyed going to the farmer's market and buying some fruit and just learning a little bit more about the fruits that we have in the United States and about Mexico. So it was a lovely time.
Definitely. Well, everybody, thank you for being with us, and we hope to see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Funding for Classroom Idaho has been provided by the Idaho State Board of Education through the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, the Friends of Idaho Public Television, the Idaho Public Television Endowment, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
You're watching Idaho Public Television's Create channel, continuing education, how-tos, and travel programs for lifelong learners.